Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Mai-Coh, yes, an official scientist of the Midnight Society. I see you again have found your way into the darkness of the Fox Den for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on LordeStarfox Radio. You have even brought me gifts I can't wait to feed. Absolutely delicious. I have been sleeping for what seems like centuries. So now that Mai-Coh has released my shackles and allowed me to revamp myself, it is once again time for her and I to take a walk into the madness.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf. And everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night. Once again, you're tuning in to Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. We are going to nerd out with the Midnight Society science team. And Mai-Coh has decided to grace us with her presence. She is extremely busy, yet does tend to very often still find her way into the Fox Den and help us set up the fire as we burn the timber into the early hours of the morning. Mai-Coh, my friend, how you been?
Fran, I've been doing well. Thank you. I'm happy to be on here with you tonight. It's a awesome night to do it. The weather is beautiful for now. So I'm watching the sun. Watching the night fall.
Excellent stuff. It is always great to link up with you. I do appreciate your time. And to the audience, you should know because I have Mai-Coh's art store up in the description of all of my videos. She does help contribute a gazillion in general to what we do here. Yet when it comes to artwork, this woman has saved me so much time by churning out these absolutely legendary things that you see in this video. Also to everybody else that does help with the art. I do love all of y'all, so make sure to go over and check out her little store, because if you would like some cool custom things, Mai-Coh has got you covered. What have you been up to?
Thanks so much. I think I'm like addicted to making cryptid artwork. It's just so fun. So fun. So I like to do that between things. I've been getting out a little bit and tromping around in nature. I haven't seen anything cryptidy this spring so far, but you never know. It can be somewhat of an active time of year, probably not as active as fall, though, based on our North American Dogman project statistics, I suppose. Fall is better, summer too. But you never know. They're out there.
That is very great. And you are always busy being an individual that has a family, also
Yep.
has her things she takes care of outside of
Yeah.
working with our science team. Understandable. Did bring up those statistics right here. That good old
Yeah.
chart we have.
17% in the spring.
Yeah, there you go. Right there. And summer
Nice.
is 44%. So
Yeah. So summer's a good time to go cryptid hunting, I guess, or for them to hunt us. I don't know.
In general, though,
Yeah.
summertime usually seems to be people's favorites. I obviously enjoy the warm weather. Not really much of a sun goer, and not really my swagger. Yet I
That's not.
do obviously enjoy getting out, and I take walks at night and such. And I obviously go out during the day. Being cold, though, it's a catch-22. It's kind of like putting yourself in cryological freezing, meaning up in the Northeast, we stay frozen the majority of the year, whereas down in some of the hotter places, people are cooking up in the oven, it seems like.
Yep, yep. Tennessee, at least we get all the seasons. And it's winters are a little bit milder, that are quite a bit milder than you get. That is for sure.
It just started getting remotely nice out the last couple of days, meaning it's so funny. The neighbor, she has a really cool hound, some sort of hunting hound, beautiful dog.
Wow.
Yeah, she's awesome, the woman and the dog, but the dog's one of my sidekicks too. So whenever I'm cooking
Nice.
and for chicken and gravy, and she loves it, but I was out there yesterday just in bare feet with a cutoff shirt, my little UNH hat. And
Nice.
she's like, "Oh my goodness, hon, aren't you cold?" And I was like, "I mean, I'm not really particularly warm, but we are in New England. I've spent my whole
Right.
life here. I used to play,
Right.
a little bit of pickup
You,
hockey and things like that. I'm used to the cold. Come on now."
you're fully acclimated. Exactly. This is normal for you. This is your normal. Like cold is fine. And if somebody from Tennessee had to live in your winter, we like it would probably be pretty miserable. So, you know, what you're used to anyway. Yep.
Right. Before we actually dive into some pretty interesting encounters from not necessarily directly your area, I wish I could have
Mhm.
pulled up the good old Chattanooga. I can't even say it properly, but I was so caught up in things. I
Close.
got confused with the time frame. I wasn't sure exactly. I was trying to, might as well tell you so you get a chuckle real quick. I don't know
Okay.
what Swift's issue was today. I clean her little structure, her little home consistently, but if to people out there that don't know, squirrels are super cleanly. They also, well, decide to shoot their body excrement out of their setup. Yeah, she has a little, basically a cat box underneath it, but she wasn't very happy with me that I put her away apparently
Oh
earlier
no.
than she wanted to be. And I think she purposely did this. She legit urinated out on my floor and then was like making chirping noises like she was pissed off. And now she's
Yeah,
sleeping. But yeah,
that's
thanks a
so
lot.
funny. She was grouchy. She
Yeah,
left
thanks
you
a
a
lot.
present.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I mean, honestly, it's the poops are just like little hamster turds,
Right,
more or less. Those
right.
aren't an issue.
Yep,
But any
not too
sort
bad.
of urine with anything
Oh,
stinks.
to clean it is just rough. Yep.
Yeah, brutal. It is what it is. Sometimes, I guess you can't keep everybody happy and stuff. I spoil the little Christmas trees out of her though, so
Oh yeah.
it's self-created.
Sweet. That's a good sign when small animals trust you.
No, for sure. It's just awesome. Yet, when it comes to what we're going to talk about tonight, have you been spending any time diving into anything cryptid or Dogman related? I do know you sent me something pretty interesting with the depictions of the Egyptians, which I actually talked about with two other members of our science team, which was
Yeah.
pretty cool. But besides that, have you been diving into anything else?
Um, I like to listen to encounters whenever I could find them. It's hard like as far as like witnesses of like dogman stuff, it's a little bit rare. There's a lot of Sasquatch stuff that comes out all the time. And I know like I could some of them I can tell. Some of them are anyone can tell. Some of them are creative writing exercises. Um, but then some of them, some of them do sound true. um, so, I do really enjoy reading and listening to encounters. Though, like I said, not all the sources out there are super trustworthy. Something I appreciate about your channel is you try to debunk things if possible. You really do only try to post like the best stuff. You're not just looking for for any old narrative, it's you'd rather find the truth, and that's something I always really appreciate. But yeah, I do like to listen to the encounters because, I mean, I'm a mental health professional, and after my initial interest in cryptids, one of the biggest things that really convinced me that something was out there was just um, the sheer numbers and kind of the consistency, um, the shared aspects between so many different encounters. If this was just people randomly having psychotic breaks, you wouldn't. I really don't think that some of these things would be quite so clear, quite so consistent. Of course, you got some really, trustworthy individuals, like, you've got state officials, you got law enforcement, military people who, like, especially there's a lot of professions where you got to be like, they screen mental health as best they can too. So you're not going to have somebody who's like really out there. Um, and there's a lot of very credible encounters. So for me, like, encounters are, um, I guess, witness stories or whatever are kind of the lifeblood of what I like to stay into. I like to pull something up and listen to it while I'm folding laundry or driving around. There's there's lots of interesting stuff out there. Definitely heard some cool Sasquatch ones lately, but haven't heard that many Dogman ones, so especially not any real Tennessee ones. So I'm definitely interested to hear some of any age, whether they're recent or old.
Sometime when you do get a little bit more time, we could legit spend a whole 3 to 4 episodes covering Tennessee. It would
Awesome.
absolutely keep you
I bet it would
blown
keep me so busy.
with some of the information that you'd be like, what the heck? And it sounds, in general, like you've been up to some pretty cool stuff, which is excellent. I did want to touch base with the audience real quick. I am going to be doing a whole entire episode with Dogman TP hunting from the good old UK, one of my bi-weekly hosts on this. To touch base right here, because we do have a scientist with us as well, and she is aware of this. People should also make sure, again, do your research on a topic. All right? Meaning animals' eyes shine in
Haha.
many different colors. Wait, what, Star Fox? Yes. Whether you're hitting it with a flashlight or not, even if there's no sort of light that you are applying to this animal, think of basically night vision that you would be wearing in the special forces. What has that done? It's grabbed ambient light to then create what you're seeing. Same thing with a predator at night. It grabs ambient light from the moon, from
Yep.
street lights, from car lights, from
Even
anything around it.
stars, like, if it's
Yes.
a new moon or the moon's not visible, the stars cast us a little bit of light. It's true.
Yes, some of these animals' eyes, for example, that crocodile I showed you, were an orange reddish. Other
Yep.
times it can be yellow. Other times it can be a demonic red, which raccoons are infamous for that. Also,
Yeah.
you can get some sort of green, bluish kind of eye shine as well. And if you do not believe me, even though our scientist just verified that, go check this out. It is called the Taptium lucidium. It's located behind the actual eye part that usually you will be using if you look at your eye. I'm not going to get too far in depth
Right.
here.
It's like
Front
the,
part.
the light comes through the lens like a camera, and that's
Yes.
what the light hits at the back of your eye, and that's where the nerves carry the impulses to your brain. It's the
Boom.
surface where the light hits. Yeah,
Again,
exactly.
now here, if you're not seeing anything out here besides eye shine, honestly, that is useless. Meaning, if a raccoon is 10 feet up in the tree, leaning out beside the tree, and you see a pair of red eyes that are 10 feet up on the ground, honestly, that's probably what it is. That's just my information
Yep.
that I've dug up, meaning owls' eyes also shine
Oh
bright,
man,
crazy colors.
and they can make some
Just
weird sounds too.
right. That's all I'm saying. If you were able to now, not meaning you, obviously, you in
I know
general,
the general.
meaning if they were able to show me something where you can see the outline now, where it looks maybe bipedal, etc. Okay, now we got something to talk about. But just
Yep.
the eye shine, it really doesn't mean anything. And I'm still baffled as to why people have not had a time to digest that. Again, I love learning, yet that's pretty easily accessible right there. It just
Mm.
shows you how confused our community is.
Yeah. And it's definitely hard because like sometimes, the I want to believe thing too, right? Like sometimes when you're looking for something, you see it in everything. And I mean, this can be true even, this can be true if you're obsessed with a topic or interested in a cryptid. I mean, it can even be true in like the mundane things like relationships. Like, this is why attitude is so important. Like if you're always seeing the negative and thinking that somebody, like say your significant other, you're seeing the negative and they're all like you think if what they're saying to you could be taken neutrally or kindly or negatively, and you're always picking the negative one when you don't have any evidence otherwise, but if you're looking for the positive and you're assuming the best, assuming the relationship is otherwise healthy, like it can make a huge difference. You find what you're looking for. And so, in a healthy relationship, if you're looking for the positive stuff, it can sort of create an upward spiral. And just like, if you're looking for things out in the wild, I swear, if I ever have a sighting, like a real clear sighting, it's gonna have to be like class A, complete visual, like preferably with other people, so I so I know it's not just me. Because yeah, because I know I spend so much time thinking about these things and making artwork of them. Like I'm afraid anywhere I look, I'm gonna be seeing these things, and I actually really haven't, or hearing them, but I've heard things that could count. Maybe that's a whoop, maybe not. Maybe that's a wood knock, maybe it's not. But I haven't had a clear visual. I'm a doubting Thomas myself, even though I believe they're out there. It's like I'm not going to say I've had an encounter unless I really have an encounter. But some people are stricter than others in their, I don't know, in their standards that they have. And for me, yeah, I'm picky for myself anyway.
Beautiful stuff right there. You have to be. And there's actually a designated syndrome for what you were saying,
Mhm.
where humans are always projecting human traits onto nature,
Yeah.
humanizing things we don't understand.
Yep.
Pareidolia,
Oh
meaning
yeah.
we're always, because of the way we evolved and such, going to see things in the shadows because that's
Yep.
how we survived. All right.
Yeah.
Now, when you take us and you put us from a distance away from that type of behavior into clusters that we lived,
Mm.
and then we
Yep.
go out to the forest and such, you see those things because it was at a point in time very essential that you responded and actually acted,
Yes.
because there's a high probability it could have been another tribe of psychos, Neanderthals,
Hmm.
or giant sloths, or cave bears, or
Who
anything.
knows exactly? It's much safer evolutionarily to occasionally respond to a false alarm than to ignore the real thing and get eaten.
Right? It always makes me chuckle too when people get upset when they refer that all the evidence you're looking for is either in our writings here or these pareidolia images. I don't see anything, I'm honest,
Oh,
right? Yet they then tell me it's my fault that I
oh,
don't see the evidence in this image, or you're an idiot, etc., because you'll
oh,
try to present things that actually could be logically occur,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Exactly. There's no reason for name calling, and you know, like I'm like you. I don't see those things. I'm not going to discount the possibility that there's something there, but if it's but like I said, well, like when I was in the LBL and I captured a picture and that it looked just like maybe a
Yes.
small little baby dog man looking. I mean, it had the ears, it had the eyes, it had the sort of little cheek fluffs. It looked, but then I had a picture from a slightly different angle, and you can just see it was a clump of leaves the whole time. Obviously, a clump of leaves. It was just, if I hadn't taken that second photo, I maybe never would have known. And I always would have wondered, did I really capture that? So, this it's just I know, and maybe it's a problem that I doubt myself so much, but also like that's just that's just who I am. It's just I like I want to know for sure. But
Nothing wrong with it.
yeah, nothing wrong with that. If people are thinking they see stuff like in just tree clumps and stuff, I mean, it's maybe it's not something they're seeing with their eyes because it's like I can't see with my eyes. They're seeing it with their hearts and whatever. I guess that won't work for science. If it works for them, though, I mean, hey, I'm glad that they're enjoying it, I guess. I just, yeah, I can't use it. I can't use it myself.
Again, awesome stuff. I always do appreciate you, and I also appreciate the kudos because I feel the same back at you. Excellent stuff there as well. William White, one of our scientists, just makes such a good point, meaning if you're in Tennessee,
Hmm.
because I'm saying that's your neck of the area, and you
Oh yeah.
hear hooves stomping, you
Hmm.
don't think zebra, you think horses, right? Okay.
Correct. Correct.
Yes, here's another example. If the people that are calling you an idiot are actually the idiots, it's not really of relevance. Meaning, if you try to explain to somebody, we'll say their husband or wife, who are
Yeah.
wearing tinfoil hats, right? Because they
Right.
think this is helping them communicate. All right,
Yeah.
whatever. They're hearing things on their roof. They have a huge
Yeah.
squirrel nest outside. They also have
Right.
crows all around. And you
Oh man.
present to them that the noises they're hearing on their roofs most likely are the wildlife just doodling across because path of
Hmm.
least resistance, etc. But
Yep.
then they're calling you an idiot, yet they're sitting there wearing the tinfoil hat thinking they're
Right.
communicating. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. And especially if nobody's had a visual, there's no other evidence. Like, it's hard to make even a circumstantial case for it if you don't have a bunch of different things pointing to it. Like no massive claw scratches, 8 feet up on the side of their house, no other things that would make you think, wow, there's something weird going on here. I believe that does happen to people. But yeah, you just it's so hard to suss out, really.
Right? I don't know enough about that. All the beautiful minds I've ever spoken to or heard talk have never mentioned putting on tinfoil helps
Right,
communicate
right,
with
right. Yeah.
anything.
Yeah,
Yet,
usually it's like an
if it,
opposite.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying it doesn't, I don't know anything about that. I was just
Yeah.
using an example that
That's a
people
great example.
sometimes, yeah, when you present logical information, they just think you're being stupid. And I'm not saying everything is
Hmm. Of
logically explained, or I wouldn't even be here on a
course.
podcast.
Of course. The mystery is why we're here after all. Like this is exciting. There's more going on in this world than we fully understand. But yeah, it's
Yes.
so true. Like I won't even, and this is like, if I'm talking to somebody in my office and they're talking about like they're paranoid, they're thinking there's hundreds of people out to get them all the time, all this stuff, it's really distressing for them, it's messing up their life, you know. Well, they might be having some symptoms of a mental health disorder.
Hmm.
So that's another thing to consider. Um, and I'm never going to armchair diagnose somebody who's not my client.
Of course.
Absolutely not. But yeah, like there's not everything that people experience would fall under that kind of thing either, though. And I'm not even going to discount the possibility of something like mind speak or telepathy. Like
Hmm.
I just don't know. Like I can't be like, oh yeah, I know what that is. I've experienced it all
Yeah,
the
I know
time.
nothing
No.
about that. Yes,
Right.
exactly. I'm so with you. Beautiful stuff. Well, to the audience, I'm not going to say Tennessee every time on these encounters because
It's
we
okay.
are in Tennessee. Meiku is going to, of course, know all these areas. We'll see here if she has heard of any of these encounters.
All
We
right.
have August 1984, a Golden Pond, Hotel California, the land between the lakes. A man and
Oh man.
have decided to spend the day exploring and trying to find an old abandoned house of a once famous riverboat captain. After exploring the nearby area, the couple ventures around the old house. until realizing it's getting pretty dark out and they need to start heading back to their vehicle, which is a long distance away. Stepping
Ooh.
outside, the couple hears what they believe is loud howling. As they turn and look back and forth at each other, the sounds of something large making its way through the brush and turning back and forth around this house. The couple is shocked and bolts back inside this old, dilapidated house. Time out right here. This
Oh
isn't
my
really
goodness.
a house, okay? This is a
Right.
structure
It's like
remnants of,
ruined. Yeah, like maybe
yes,
a
there's
standing
no
chimney and
protection.
maybe a few walls.
Yes. As they bolt up to what is left of the second floor, they begin to find an area to hide. As they
Hmm.
are peering through the cracks outside in the dimming light, they get a glimpse of what was howling, shivering. They hear the sound of clicking on the concrete as this
Ooh.
creature has stepped inside of the house and began walking towards the stairs that led up to where they were hiding. As this strange canine like creature is standing upright, it begins sniffing the air. This animal seemed to be very aware that they were somewhere around the nearby area. After a few minutes, or what seemed to be forever, the couple witnesses seemingly as this creature steps into full view a werewolf like animal with an enormous German Shepherd like head and long,
Wow.
lanky human arms
Hmm.
while standing on two bent back canine legs, casually walking back outside into the forest. The couple said the animal had to be at least 6 to 7 feet tall, had a terrible odor of dirty dog and
Oh.
something that no longer existed. After letting out a few loud howls slash groans, this strange creature vanished deep into the forest. After hoping the area was safe, the couple hastily made a retreat to their car in the darkness of the night. What do you think there, eh?
Wow, that is really something. It is chilling. And I completely believe like the setting, I know exactly that area they're talking about. Golden Pond is like kind of central in the LBL, right? That's where they've got the visitor center now. So like in other encounter stories where like they go to somewhere to like, a restroom to like chill out after they've been
Hmm.
zapped or have this horrible encounter. Like that's what we're talking about. I've been there. Anyway, that whole area, the whole thing about the LBL is like you've got these major roads that go through there, but then like there's not that many, and then off there's just countless gravel or like maybe slightly paved or gravel or even dirt roads. There's roads going off of those roads. It just sort of turns this network. I'm sure there are people who know that place like the back of their hand, but if one is not super familiar, I can't imagine. It would be so easy to get lost. And, I mean, people used to live in the LBL. So, yeah, I'm sure there are, or especially, in the 80s, it hadn't been as long. There would be more standing ruins still around that nature hadn't reclaimed. And,
Hmm.
I know there's still ruins out there, probably not with a second story anymore, but yeah. I can't, when I was there, I gotta say, like, I stuck pretty much to the main. I didn't have a lot of time there. I had my kids with me the second time. I'm not gonna go, plunging off into the brush where like
Yeah.
known hostile cryptids live. Are you kidding me? There are some areas that still gave me kind of an eerie feeling. Like I had to pull over at one spot and deal with something in my car. It was off of one of these little side roads, sort of in the North LBL, and I was like, it was a little weird feeling. I didn't see anything, didn't hear anything, but you feel how like isolated it is. There is zero cell service. It's like you cross the bridge into this area and boom, like you are very lucky to get one bar. It's just completely gone. So dead zone. And yeah, like it's just so much land. Like if a cryptid did not want to have to deal with people very often, yeah, that area is heavily, there's a lot of recreation, there's a lot of fishing, whatever. There's a lot of stuff like that. But there are places where you can go where it is very hard to get to. Like I haven't gone there, but you can definitely see it. Anyway, that's a really interesting encounter, and I don't doubt it. That area is like kind of in the heart of the LBL. So, if something's going to be around, it's probably maybe not in the middle of Golden Pond by the visitor center, but probably stuck in the woods. Doesn't take too long to get really out in the sticks out there. And there's no cell service, so no one you can call.
Jeez, can we say nightmare fuel? I knew that
Nightmare
we
fuel,
have
absolutely. I was
some
thinking of
great
that phrase the
insight.
whole time you were reading that. Woo!
Have you actually been to Hotel California yourself?
Been to Golden Pond, not Hotel California.
You should definitely check that out sometime. You Google that, they have some great ones. If not, I'll send you some pretty
Okay.
decent ones. 'Cause I'm
Okay.
trying
Super
to
gnarly.
figure out how accurate this couple's story was. According to
Hmm.
them,
Hmm.
it was a pretty long hike for them to get to that. I don't know if
Okay.
because they were unaware of
Oh,
that
wow.
location
Yeah.
or
Right.
if the parking really was that far away.
Okay, I'm actually pulling it up now. So no,
Hmm.
I'm looking at this. That is creepy. I see images from 2013 here. Anyway,
Yes.
so I see what you're talking about concrete. That could still be, yeah, I mean maybe that is still standing. Oh my goodness. That is huge. That's a huge structure. Yeah,
Hmm.
that would be really creepy. And I mean, you can tell, look at all that graffiti. That people go there a lot, but just that would not be somewhere I would want to be after dark.
Nope.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, all kinds of
Super
messed up
creepy.
things also occur there as well,
Uh-huh.
supposedly with like satanic type stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. Vampire
it's
Hotel California. Like I see all sorts of
yep,
stuff coming up for that. Yuppie. Wow.
yes. And I think it's pretty far away from any sort of direct path.
Right.
I think that park really wants people there, meaning I don't think that that's advertised. I think that's just
Right.
advertised by people that are basically, they go out exploring for that. There's a
Yeah.
specific term for individuals like that, but
Right. Urban explorers or basically
yes,
people who seek
Urban
out
X.
ruins.
There we go.
Yep. 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 I expect that it's a full blown hobby. Like, and people are so into it. Like I'm into caving. Like it is a whole thing.
Hmm. Creepy as heck. Well, this
Oh
next one
my.
isn't as gnarly as that, yet it's still pretty interesting, and it's remotely old school. Summer 1985, 11 a.m., Dixon County. A family is driving home on the freeway. They are in a semi-busy traffic area and only able to go around 45 miles per hour. Suddenly, they notice what seems to be an enormous, strange, jet black, canine like creature squatting down on the side of the road, watching cars
Ooh.
drive by, then turning its head to watch the next car pass. Almost seemingly,
Mm.
this animal was enjoying watching the traffic. The family
Huh.
said this strange creature had a very distinct canine head and ears and had similar motions and reactions that a dog would have, yet it was seemingly sitting down as if you and I would with
Wow.
our knees up towards our chest. What do you think?
That is really unnerving and really interesting. I have not been there, but I hear a lot about Montgomery Bell State Park. That's a really big, wild area that's in that county. So, but yeah, the area you're talking about, Dixon County, is like southwest of Nashville. It just depends on how you're looking at it. But yeah, it's basically straight west. So you're looking at like the other side of the Highland Rim. Well, there's like I don't know, maybe not. There's like the Nashville Basin in the middle. Um, anyway, that is really unnerving. Like, but I could see it driving through there. I've only driven through there. There's just hills and hills and just forests and forests. Like, Tennessee's got a lot of wild land. And if, yeah, people own it, people might use it for timber or farming, but it's not like people are out there swarming all over the land all the time. It's mostly sitting there most of the time. So it would be a good place to hide if one were a cryptid. And there are some caves over on that side too. Um,
A
yeah,
ton of
New
caves
Longest Cave in
in Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yeah, is on that side of Nashville, over in that direction. Used to be Blue Spring Cave in Sparta, Tennessee, at over 40 miles long. It's sort of all, it's not in a line, obviously, it's sort of all, jumbled up like spaghetti. But that was the longest one. But now this new one is has been found, and I mean, it just keeps going. They keep finding more and more, and like that area, it's not as famous for being cavey, as like White County. Like White County has over 1,000 caves in it on its own. Tennessee has over 10,000 caves. Like that's it's more than any other state. It's a lot, but they're not in every county. Like my parents live in a county that has like two or three caves, but like I'm in the neighboring county and we have a bunch. So it really depends on the geology. Anyway, that area though, it has some caves and I would say it has been underrated and maybe underexplored. Obviously, they're looking there more now. So who knows what's out there?
So creepy and absolutely excellent. Well, what if I told you I got one more for you right here? We
Oh
have
man, yeah.
1991 Spotsville, Kentucky, which technically, yes,
Uh-huh.
we're not in
Just
Tennessee.
across the
Yeah,
border though, but it's
just
close.
across
No,
the
that's not that
area, and
far.
this whole little sector in my book is called the land between the lakes. Woohoo! So this is why it
It's
is
yep.
actually included in here. And I do know Mai-Coh stomps around there as well, so she'll enjoy hearing this, and hopefully the audience does as well. A local hunter is out scoping his area. As he finds his target, he shoots and disposes of the animal. As he is heading towards his remains, he hears loud crashing behind him. Spinning around, the hunter sees what he thinks is an enormous 5 to 6 foot tall, dark red, wolf like creature darting
Dark
off on
red.
force in the opposite direction of him, seemingly scared off by the sound of the firearm he was discharging into the air. Yeah, he said it was like an auburn, dark red kind of coloring.
That's definitely unusual. Cool.
Right? Yes, because as you had mentioned, it's usually not, referred to outside of black or dark gray,
Right.
brown, but no, he said this was like a auburn red, like a very dark, brightish kind of red color, more red than
Fascinating.
brown. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right? What do you think about that one, eh?
I think that's real interesting. I was just looking at where Spotsville is, and, yeah, it may not be in Tennessee, but like it's closer to the LBL than I am, and I'm in Tennessee. So, you know what I mean? Like, right, like I'm kind of on the other side of the state, whereas this one's, just a little bit north and or it's north and a little bit east. So, I mean, and considering like the size of these creatures, we know like mountain lions or whatever, cougars, pumas, they will go hundreds of miles. I know you've mentioned that on here before, how they've gone
Mhm.
across like half the continental U.S. They disperse really far sometimes, and that's a creature of like normal, like large feline intelligence, not known for having any interesting abilities, not particularly I mean, they are elusive, don't get me wrong. They are not common creatures, but like that's just a normal creature and they will go super far and they're not even as big physically as what we're describing here. And, you know, they can put some miles in. So yeah, like I can only imagine it probably doesn't even take that long. If a cryptid, and count out any supernatural means, just say it is physically just a large, you know, elusive, intelligent creature that does not want to be seen by people very much. I mean, it can really put some miles in. Looking at a map, Tennessee and Kentucky, I'm sure it would have to cross some roads, which is notice where like a lot of these people are seeing them near roads, but like it could travel under forest, like a creature could travel under forest cover for like hundreds of miles, very rarely having to come. out of it. Especially if it knew which ways to go and like avoiding some of the cities, or like, and where I live in East Tennessee, where, often Harley is, like, we've got a lot of ridges that go sort of northeast, southwest direction. The Appalachian Mountains, like we've got that folded land, right? And those ridges are a lot harder to build on. So, I live on one of them, and if something wanted to just go cruising along the top or the flanks of that ridge, it could travel for miles. It could probably, I mean, it would only have to cross a road very rarely, very, very rarely. Um, just because like there's, to cross these ridges, sometimes you have to have like a pretty distinct pass. The passes are all locally named because it's like, oh yeah, back in the day, that was one of the few places you could get over that ridge. And these are not huge jaggedy hills, right? They're just covered in forest, but it's enough of a barrier that they aren't, it's not like San Francisco where everything's like, built on these steep hills. Like, nah, there's enough space around here. People aren't bothering with it. You might get a subdivision built on top of a hill in an area that's really getting built up, right? On top of a ridge. But in general, like the ridges are forested. And, wildlife uses them as a corridor already, like normally deer, bear, bobcats, coyotes. Like, it is super common for those things to pass through. Plenty of food sources too for anything wild and cryptidy that might want to go through there.
Ah, again, what the heck? Straight up excellent stuff right there. And I got a little bit more that you'll like to hear as we are tying this up about
Yeah.
what you mean with animals traveling. We have yellow
Hmm.
baboons that can run anywhere from 30 to 35 miles per hour, and they'll travel around 3 to 4 miles per day. That's a pretty decent chuck right there. Spotted
Yeah.
hyenas, speeds of 35 to 37 miles per hour, and
Mm.
they will run around 40 to 50 miles per day. That's pretty
Wow.
savage,
Wow. Wow.
right? Gray wolves, 40 to 45 miles per hour. On average, they will run around for 30 to 35 miles per day. Dang. And then
Yeah.
this final one, we have Kodiak bears can run
Ooh.
anywhere from 35 to 40 miles per hour, and they
Yikes.
will do about 20 to 40 miles per day. That's just giving
Wow.
people a little bit of an
That's a lot.
understanding
That's a
as you
lot of
would say it.
ground.
Yeah, and that's not
And
even halfway across the country, right?
nah, but I mean that'll get you real far across the state, and especially like
Mhm.
somewhere, think Europe, where you're out, you'll be in a new country before you know it. I just had a
Right?
thought too. Okay, thinking about distances traveled, and these creatures are something that they have in common. Okay, Dogman, like it can walk upright. Now think about how humans are one of the few creatures that is evolved to walk upright. It's a big advantage. Yeah, it makes things weird for us when it comes to giving birth. We have our issues, but we are kind of the terrifying pursuit predators in the way that like people can just run or walk something to
Hmm.
yes, we can just keep going and going and going, and only like dogs and wolves can sort of keep up with us. In a wild setting where people are living off the land, like we can just go and go and go. And part of the reason that we can do that, the whole reason, is actually the fact that we are bipedal, because it's a very efficient way to travel. So imagine something bigger than us. Imagine something that has a much larger stride than us, but is also able to make use of having a long bipedal stride. Like the ground that something like that could cover would be crazy. It would be a whole lot. Um, that's just something that, we talk about like humans and what makes humans unique and maybe human evolution. And then we talk about the cryptid stuff, but like, how Brother Nature says that maybe some of these dogmen are, it's like wolves that looked at humans and wanted to be to act like us in some ways. Well, if they were able to develop that bipedal stance, like that could allow them to move very quickly and efficiently. And cover massive amounts of ground like in a day. We don't know, we can't put numbers on it, but we look at our human numbers for our human bodies, and we are capable of some bizarre feats, like to be able to run like mammoths or not well, probably mammoths back in the day into the ground, or antelope in Africa back, just run them into the ground, or like deer, if we can just, as long as we can keep eyes on them and keep them from just escaping and getting away from sight, we can run them into the ground. Imagine something that's bigger and tougher than us and what it would be capable of. Probably some pretty intense things, and we have no idea.
Yeah, straight up again, nightmare fuel, meaning just
For
everything
sure.
you tapped on. Realistically, you could see it per se in a smaller state from like Connecticut to Delaware or such. It could
Oh
maybe be
yeah.
both states in the same day,
Oh, in a
meaning,
day. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it could be
I
the
mean, I
same
was
that's reported.
well, that's actually a really good point. And you could have something get from the Smokies to the LBL. I mean,
Hmm.
maybe not in a day, but maybe in a couple days. Maybe I don't know how fast they can go. Like it would not like yeah, that's really
Or
far. That's hundreds
shortcuts
of
through like
miles. But
caves or such, yeah.
well, shoot. Yeah, I mean, caves can be interesting because sometimes they get real narrow. Call it a filter. People have trouble with
Hmm.
them, but also something's able to get quadrupedal and flexible, like that it wouldn't necessarily pose any trouble if it had a way to go. And we find caves all the time when blowing up like road cuts and stuff through Tennessee when those things happen, because most caves, the majority of them, do not connect to the surface as far as we can tell. And that's just running the numbers. It's like we can't really study the ones that don't connect to the surface, but we can guess using statistics on how many that do. And yeah, it's weird to think that most of the caves we don't even know about. They're just lurking. Something could be using them.
Isn't that the truth? Do you have your phone right by you? Check your
I do.
messenger.
Yep,
It's
yep.
only like a 40-second video, but just to show you about the meaning of being able to get through small spots. This guy is obviously in custody for doing something that he's not supposed to, yet he is infamous
Uh-oh.
for being able to escape from all these places he's been put into because of just how he can distort
Look
himself.
at that.
Yeah, it's
Officer,
mind-boggling.
don't go. Do not. It's like if his head can fit through, he can fit through. That is wild. That's more intense. Okay, when we have caver conventions, we have something called the squeeze box. And it's like we try like people compete to see like how small of a space they can fit into and
Yes.
fit through. Like, and the petite thin people obviously win and the super flexible, maybe hypermobile people, those they win it every time. But like it's amazing what people are capable of. And yeah, that's a human, a
That can
slightly
make a Dogman
more
push
capable
yourself
than
to
average
limit,
human.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Yep, yep.
So creepy. Well, my
So
friend, you
wild.
are so busy. Is there anything else you would like to touch base on tonight before we let you get rolling?
This was fun. I think we hit a lot of fun things, and yeah, let's do this again sometime soon, but I'm good for now. Thanks.
Excellent. I appreciate you. You are always welcome here. You are the rock star with your schedule, even though I usually am pretty busy. I always have time for my squad. You just need to let me
Oh,
know if you want to come hang out, and we'll always get you up in here for sure.
rock on. Awesome. Well, thank you
Well,
so much.
of course, to the Midnight Society. This will be the conclusion of our meeting for the early hours of the morning. No worries, though. Mai-Coh will be back sooner than later. You can always check
Absolutely.
out our previous episodes and also what she's churning out over on her art store. Make sure to
For
give that a good
sure.
old click. Also, if you want some custom stuff, she churns out
Yeah, hit
amazing
me up.
things.
For
No
sure. And yeah,
worries.
absolutely. And I'm hoping to
Appreciate
get some cave footage for you soon, Star Fox, because I'm telling you what, like I'm itching to get underground again, and I am not afraid of the dark.
that is awesome. Just beware of the reptilians, right? And those gnarly alligators in the sewers, eh?
Yup, yup, for
Well,
sure.
thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I appreciate you, eh?
You take care. Thank you so much.
My creatures of the night, you legends, you. If you did make it this far tonight, please like, comment, subscribe, share the truth to the algorithm, and remember, keep your head on a swivel.